Hi, welcome back to Hope and Firm Foundations, where we have heart to heart, Christ centered conversations about healthy relationships. Today, I'm actually going to be talking about signs of an unhealthy friend, aka a toxic friend. And people often mistake toxic friends for a fake friend. However, with toxic friendships, they can actually be restored to a healthier state. However, a fake friend was never your friend to begin with, so they're not the same. In this video, I will actually be using the term unhealthy friend and toxic friend interchangeably, and that's really because people usually use the word toxic when referring to unhealthy friends. Before we get started with talking about like signs of a toxic or unhealthy friend, I really want to start with 1 Corinthians 15:33, which says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." We're actually going to start by talking about signs of a toxic friend, or like I said, unhealthy friend. And the first sign is unsupportive. So toxic friends are unsupportive, they are unreliable, they bring a lot of drama to your life. And I'm just going to reference that point with Proverbs 22, verse 24 to 25, that says, "Do not make friends with a hot tempered person. Do not associate with one easily angered, or you may learn their ways and get yourself ensnared." So that's just a consideration, a verse that you can kind of do more Bible study on. Point number 4 is toxic friends actually put you down and make you feel less of yourself. They talk behind your back and gossip about details of your personal life that you know you've only shared with them. They're only there for you when things are going well, but when you're struggling, toxic friends are usually very absent. These are the people that usually come around you when life is going well, you're in your winning season, but in your losing season is when you're able to kind of see that friendship maybe as more unhealthy or toxic, because that's usually when they're not around, they're unsupportive, and the people that you really thought would come through for you in this low season are just simply absent. The next thing is they only come around when they need something from you. Like if they don't need nothing from you, you will not hear from them. But as soon as they have thought about you and they see where you can kind of benefit them, that there's that "hey, how you been" text, right? There's that "hey, I'm pulling up on you. How you doing? Hey, big head." However you want to reference this, but that's usually when they come back and they try to access your life. The next one is they manipulate you to get what they want. Manipulation is something I will be covering more extensively in the future, but this is very toxic. They also gaslight you, and they're often in competition with you. And this competition doesn't have to be over anything that you determine is valuable. Usually, with people who experience jealousy, if it's something that they see that you have, and it's great enough that they wanted or intimidated by it, they usually try to compete with you. The last point I really wanted to share was does not celebrate your achievements. This one really stands out to me because in my situation with one of my friends, like that was one of the ways I realized that our friendship was really unhealthy was when I was not able to share good things that was happening in my life. So I know it says does not celebrate your achievements. So it's not like this person was like not celebrating with me given the opportunity. It's really just there was a lack of acknowledgement of my celebrations. Like when I would share good news with them, they wouldn't really care for it. It didn't really matter. I started second guess sharing good news because when I did share good news, it became kind of like a woe is me. So identifying and removing toxic friendships can actually be very challenging, especially in situations that are not always clear. And when I say not clear, it could just mean like a situation where they've done something or they're doing something that you're not sure is really, really happening intentionally. So you obviously want to have a conversation with them, but you also know that it's causing great harm. If you know me, I am all about having a conversation. And the first thing I would say is maybe your friend is actually not aware of how their actions are making you feel. And that's always the first point because I know myself, like, unfortunately, there was a point in my life where I really just reserved a lot of what I was feeling. So sometimes my friends would offend me and they wouldn't even know because it was probably just a comment that they made that they thought had no importance, but really maybe touch a very sore spot or just downright irritated me. But I didn't say anything, right? And sometimes in our friendships, like especially when you're in long friendships where you've told the person about who you are, how you operate, and they do something that offends you, it can make you feel like, yo, this person really don't know me, don't respect me. And those feelings within itself definitely might be valid. I'll put it that way, but it's also information that you have to bring back to your friend, right? Because people are not always going to know what they did that triggered you, at least before you bring it to their attention. But I always say have a conversation first. If you decide to have a conversation, your friend actually may apologize and promise to do better. And usually in friendships that are unhealthy or toxic, it's normal, and not even about those relationships. Usually in relationships, if that person cares about you enough, they're gonna apologize once you bring something to their attention, and that's usually a sign that that person might be listening, but it's not really a sign of progress. It's good to have a conversation, but sometimes we talk to people about how we feel and the behavior continues. So once you start to see things that you've shared about with your friend that you don't like, and it's resurfacing and nothing's changing, or it's getting worse, it may actually be better to end or move on from this friendship. So it's not your first time having this conversation and your friend continues to do the same thing. My question for you is, how many times are you going to keep having the same conversation with this person? And the reason why I bring that up is I know, like, sometimes, like, even with myself, like, I have a lot of conversations with people before I walk away. There are people in my life where I spoke for too long. And what I mean by that is, like, I desperately wanted the friendship to work out so much that I kept talking and talking and talking, and their behavior was not improving. So I feel like I was convincing myself that if I had one more conversation with them, that things would get better. But that's a cycle that we can get into. But at the same time, too, that's not smart, right? Because it doesn't take that long for someone to hear you. It might take time for them to apply what you've spoken about, especially if it's something that they maybe themselves are working on. But it should not continue. Like, some behaviors, the way they continue, it just lets you know that it might be time to move on or end the relationship, because you shouldn't have to keep talking and talking and talking and experiencing harm in a friendship. When we're talking about toxic friendships or unhealthy friendships, one thing I would say is people who actually create, facilitate toxic friendships are often very good manipulators. So it actually can be very easy to be worked up in this friendship and to be manipulated and not realize it. If the friendship doesn't have any positive benefits on you, I think that lets you know exactly what you need to know. And if your conversation with that person has not helped, it may be time to end it. And I always say maybe because I can't make that decision for you. Only you can. All I can do is share enough information where you can have an outline or an idea of maybe what's happening in your relationships and then doing what's best for you. But you deserve to be in a friendship that's healthy. Let's say you decide to end the friendship and you've reflected and you're like, you know what? I'm done with this person. This person does not respect me or my boundaries. It's time to go. You don't have to end it right. And what I mean by end it right, it's be clear as to why you're ending the friendship. Some people, once they decide that they're done with your friendship, they honestly just block you or remove you. Um, that's a choice, but at the same time, if you decide to have a conversation with your friend because you just want to go down that route, I would say you don't have to over explain. Create a list. Create a list of the things that have happened, the things you want to talk to your friend about. The reason why I say create a list is oftentimes if you decide to have a formal conversation with someone, you might freeze up, or one of the points that you wanted to talk about might be so heated that you lose track of every other part. But I always say create a list so that you don't freeze up, so you know exactly what you want to say before the conversation is over. Don't start from when you guys met in grade three. Just start sharing the factors that resulted in this friendship being over. Whether it's a lack of communication, a lack of respect, a lack of something, be clear and let them know. Decide if you want to text this friend or meet up with them formally. And please do not meet up in person if you fear that this friend may harm you in any way. Your safety comes first. You're not even obligated to have a conversation with that person. Like, if a person might harm you if you say exactly what's on your mind, that is a dangerous friend, and you have to move how you want to move. However, you want to block them, delete them, or whatever that looks like for you, that's fair. However, for the people that may decide, hey, I want to meet this friend and I want to meet up with this friend in person, please meet in a public space. Some people actually may choose to block that friend with no explanation and decide that that's how they want to end the friendship. You can also do that too. Like, I won't judge. Just make sure that it is what you truly want. I've made the mistake of in the past blocking friends because I was upset, but not being sure that I want the friendship to end. Blocking someone can be very hurtful, especially in my situation. Like, I had a friend that I blocked instead of letting her know exactly how I felt about what she was doing to me. And unfortunately, that destroyed our friendship, and she felt like she could never trust me again. She felt tossed to the side by my actions, and she's right. I was just so hurt that I valued my feelings over that person. Blocking this person made me feel good. It made me feel powerful in such a situation where I felt so powerless. I was like, what? I think I was about 16, 17, maybe early. I know late teens, but that's definitely a choice that I've made. It's something that I do regret because I could see how, like, our friendship was so beautiful. And because of my lack of emotional regulation, I did that, and that just changed the course of our friendship. So yeah. So I always say, if you're gonna block someone and really, really do remove them, be sure, because sometimes something as simple as blocking can end the friendship, but really harm the health of the relationship or just any future relationship with that person. I'm just going to end the video here because I don't want to make it too long. But in the next one, we're actually going to be breaking down the reality of ending toxic friendships and pretty much some practical next steps you can take to protect and to make sure we are healing properly. Thank you very much for watching again. And as always, to God be the glory.